But right now, the biggest thing that benefits Donald Trump is the fact that it's a tied race. And I always ask this question: does it say more about Trump or Biden that a thrice indicted former president is tied with the current president?
NBC's Chuck Todd questioning the current president's job performance over his predecessor's performance in the polls.
Beverly Hallberg is president of District Media Group, and she joins us now. Beverly, good morning to you. Can you answer Mr. Chuck Todd's question? I mean, who does it say more about, Trump or Biden?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm not surprised by this poll at all, and the fact that Chuck Todd shows he just doesn't understand the American people and how polarized we are. The reality is that the more that the media covers indictments, and there could even be more indictments, and it would only embolden Trump's supporters and put him in a position to get the Republican nomination, because it points to what Republicans have concerns about, which is the swamp, specifically the DOJ and it being corrupt. Now, when it comes to Biden, I think the most interesting thing about that is the more he's covered, the less independents want to vote for him, and that is because we see his age on full display. So I don't think it's too hard to figure out. I would expect somebody in this role of being a journalist and somebody who studies this to be able to see through it a little bit better.
Okay, so here's something interesting that's playing out right now. As the presidential election is underway, there is a potential debate that could happen on Fox News with Sean Hannity between California Governor Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis. Take a listen to both of them agreeing to it.
You would do a 2-hour debate with Ron DeSantis.
I make it 3.
3-hour debate with
Yeah, make
so
it.
I hear 4.
And do it with 1 day notice with no notes. I look forward to that.
You heard Gavin make the offer. Your answer is?
Absolutely. I'm game. Let's get it done. Just tell me when and where. Biden may not even be the nominee. You could have Gavin Newsom. If we go down that direction, that's going to accelerate American decline.
Okay, so both of these politicians agree that Sean Hannity would host this possible debate, but now they're trying to agree on the other terms, and there is some controversy. Gavin Newsom's spokesperson says this: "What a joke. DeSantis' counterproposal is littered with crutches to hide his insecurities and ineptitude, swapping opening statements with a hype video, cutting down the time he needs to be on stage, adding cheat notes in a cheering section." What do you make of all of this? A candidate that is running for president debating someone who is currently not.
Well, I think it sounds like Gavin Newsom is getting a little bit of cold feet. Maybe he didn't think Ron DeSantis was actually going to agree to this. And look, one of the rules that the Gavin Newsom team is pushing back on is this idea of an audience, that DeSantis wants an audience. First of all, it's always better in a public debate to have an audience. We aren't in COVID times anymore. And there's also going to be a rule where both sides get to have the same number of allotment of tickets for their supporters. So it'd be pretty even. I think this comes down to Gavin Newsom knows he's going to have to put the policies of California against the policies of Florida, and that is just a losing proposition. I think this is Gavin Newsom trying to back out.
That's what we were discussing earlier. I mean, it's just the fact that it could be on Fox News with Sean Hannity that would be interesting, to say the least. You know, Beverly, CNN anchors, they were disgusted that the Orlando Magic donated money to Ron DeSantis' super PAC. Watch this.
And more importantly, as the Players Association statement pointed out, it's their labor. Money for NBA teams, the Orlando Magic's money that they donated to Ron DeSantis, doesn't come from a magic tree elf. It came from the work of those players on the court. And the fact that their work has been turned into a contribution for someone running for president who has come out with statements that they think directly oppose who they are as people, that is very difficult to stomach.
So, Beverly, do you think this would be the conversation we'd be having if they would have donated to a Democrat?
Not at all. And the fact that the NBA is upset about some type of political donation is quite laughable. This is a sports entity that has been very political. You just have to look at some of the social justice causes, for example, after the tragic death of George Floyd, how they promoted Black Lives Matter. But you have teams that have also promoted issues like abortion. And in those instances, they don't talk about the diversity of the opinions of the players. So the moral of the story is for the NBAs, if it's a progressive policy, they are all for it. But if it leans conservative, conservative, well, all of a sudden they think it's not fair game.
The Orlando Magic defended its donation, saying, quote, it was given as a Florida business in support of a Florida governor for the continued prosperity of Central Florida. So that is their statement on that fact. Some people say that Ron DeSantis is underperforming right now, given the polls. And there was a recent Political piece that talked about how organized Donald Trump's campaign is. And the examples they gave were Trump visiting East Palestine earlier this year and his attempt to get an endorsement from United Auto Workers Union. I mean, this is his second time around, and it does seem to be paying off.
Yeah, I think so. And look, Donald Trump has been hitting the ground. He's been talking to people. He's always been great with the working class. Ron DeSantis has had some struggles with his campaign. He needs to get it going. I think a potential debate against Gavin Newsom would be good for him to take that on. Gavin Newsom is someone who I think could also take over for Joe Biden. So there's still a lot at play. But here's the thing. Nobody outworks Donald Trump. He's a hard worker, and he's good when he mingles with the people.
Well, he is certainly going to have to work in 2024 with all of these trials that are coming up and all the legal issues. It's going to be political rally to going from one courtroom to the next. And Donald Trump right now is saying, bring it on. Beverly Hallberg, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.